Hey Kev, let's follow this trail over here. This looks like there might be something waiting down there.
All right. Hey, wait a minute. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I thought it was just me. What the heck is that?
I don't know what that is. Whoa, do you smell that too?
That's unbelievable. Hey, look.
What the?
Hey, look, those branches are moving over there.
What the heck is that?
Holy cow, is that what I think it is? Look at that thing.
Oh my God.
It's a freaking Sasquatch. Welcome to the Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters podcast. I am your host, W.J. Sheehan, author of the series of books, 38 of them, Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters. All these books are available on our website now through the links. Whether you want audio, paperback, ebook, Kindle, there are viable links on the website, BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com. Take you where you want to go. Or you could just go to Amazon and hunt and peck around their website for the various books. They're all over the place. And also, we have our shop open now. You hit on shop, and there's all kinds of cool things to get there. Magnetic bumper stickers, hats, hoodies, cups, mugs, all kinds of cool stuff. So have a look at that, folks, and support our effort. And now, may I introduce you to my brother and co-host, KJ Sheehan. Kev, how are you?
I'm doing all right. The weather's getting cool here. It's like a nice gray, misty, fallish morning, which I'm excited about. And Bill, don't forget, not just cool things, but creepy things too.
Yeah, folks, Kevin and I share a camera when we're doing this podcast together, and he had his Black-Eyed Children t-shirt on. And I'm telling you, man, that thing is freaking creepy, man.
Yeah, and the first time I put it on, my wife was like, I do not like that t-shirt. I was like, all right, well, then it's creepy.
Perfect. We've achieved our goal.
It's definitely creepy then, because I thought it was creepy. And if it scares you, then it's definitely creepy.
Well, Kev, you know, some people are a little softer than others.
You know. So, Bill, you got a creepy account or a scary account?
Well, Kev, I met up with this fella, as I do many people, doing the podcast quite a few years ago. He was a guide in what we'll call a ranch or a big camp on the back of Pike's Peak that's no longer in business over there for a variety of reasons. And he had a number of encounters that he shared with me over several interviews. I'm going to do two of them today, and at another time we'll get into the other two. But very interesting. He also is a bow hunter, and he was like 4 or 6 targets or animals away from achieving what he called a grand slam bow hunting in North America, which I think was like 28 or all of the various animals that you could get with a bow. So very, very astute, very able hunter. He was twice the Colorado State Guide of the Year. And you want to talk about a credible witness. Let's get into this. As I mentioned, Bill, I've been hunting predominantly with a recurve bow my entire life, scouring North America for my prey. Oh, here we go. I'm 6 animals away from completing what is known as a grand slam in hunting, which is having killed every animal in North America with a recurve bow. To date, I've scored 21 animals, with the only ones left being a polar bear, musk ox, Yukon moose, woodland caribou, the barren ground caribou, and a grizzly bear. Now, folks, I don't know if you've ever shot a recurve bow. I can't imagine going after a grizzly bear with a recurve bow. But,
or at least living to tell about it.
I mean, but this is the kind of cat we're dealing with here. So he went on to tell me that it would likely cost him $50,000 or more to complete the list, not even considering the time I would need. And so he said, I'm uncertain at this stage of my life whether I will complete the task. Very honest. Allow me to bring you into the time and place when this began. I'm a former Special Forces and have hunted my entire life, which in 1995 took me to Colorado to live and pursue hunting. Now, I just lost my place here. I had an elk tag to fill and hiked some 5 or 6 miles outside Pike's Peak, where I scored my bull. So there I was on the ground butchering the beast when a man rode up on me in a horse. He introduced himself to me as Mike and asked me if I needed any help, which I replied, no, I'm good. He asked me if I knew how far in I was, and I said, yeah. So we talked for a bit, which turned into about a week or so hanging out, during which time he offered me a job, being impressed with me from the start for not accepting help and my apparent self-sufficiency and knowledge. Mike was the lead guide for an extensive guide operation and training school working out of a 150-acre ranch on the backside of Pike's Peak. When we had our chance meeting, Mike was out scouting for new territory to take paid clients hunting in. In 96, I began working with Mike. However, it was in 97 that this first Bigfoot encounter came into play at Pike's Peak. 3 weeks before the season opener, we had gone into the area where we were going to take our clients to set up a wall tent and organize our camp for the clients and ourselves. The day came when we went in with our 4 paid clients. Mike and I and a wrangler with 12 horses carrying gear and people. Our 7-day plan was to have tags to fill for elk, mule deer, and 1 bear. The hunting was the best I had ever experienced. We filled every tag we had in 5 days as we then packed our gear and started heading out. I was taking the lead, with Mike taking up the rear about 50 yards behind me, with the other horses and men in between us on the trail. We were on a narrow stretch, hugging the side of the peak. A cliff wall was next to us on my left, and a steep drop-off to my right-hand side. My horse began to dance, catching Mike's eye immediately as he said, "Jeff, what's your horse dancing about?" Excuse me. He then said to get off her and lead her on foot, not wanting the caravan to get spooked, especially in the position we found ourselves in. So I dismounted and, grabbing the reins, began to walk ahead of my horse, hugging the cliff wall, the horse now between myself and the drop-off. Now, I'm standing on the ground. The visibility of those behind me is limited for me. Not mounted, not on my mount any longer, when a commotion erupts behind me, causing me to turn my head. During daylight hours, a dark-colored blur of what appeared to be the head and shoulders of something huge passed between the horses and over the side of the drop-off in a split second. I had seen a blur. The others had seen a huge Bigfoot and was shouting about it. Mike yelled to me, "Screw the Bigfoot, Jeff. Let's get the hell out of here," which we did. Everyone talked about it the entire ride back, after which Mike and I could speak privately. We had brought the horses, supplies, and clients in by trucks and trailers to the point where we would ride. And during the ride back to the ranch, everyone had become very quiet about what happened. Later, Mike said he had never seen anything like it in 25 years guiding. When the beast showed up, we were at about 8,000 feet, and it had to have come down the cliff face with none of us even seeing it or hearing it until it broke through our ranks. How that happened, I have no idea. We were positioned in what I will describe as a U shape on the trail, and it came right through the base of that U, or the bottom part of what you would appear to be the letter U, if you could picture that in your mind. The men were saying, "That ain't no bear," while others said it was a Bigfoot flat out. Where it was going and why it did what it did is anyone's guess. My thoughts being that it had happened to distract or frighten us away for some reason. That was during my 3rd year as a guide, and I won Guide of the Year in Colorado. Quite a following desiring to hunt with me now. So that was encounter number 1, as you heard when he had hired on with this crew as a guide. The boss, Mike, being impressed with his ability to come into the woods alone initially when they met, and basically turning down help to butcher this animal and help him out. He says, "Nah, I'm good." Now, this is the second one. His second encounter with a Bigfoot in a valley behind Pike's Peak in Colorado. And this is what he had to say. This is really, really interesting, as if that other one wasn't interesting enough. This second encounter, Bill, had occurred in 1999 after 2 brothers from Pennsylvania canceled a week-long hunt with me. Having called me to say their father had passed away, which is more than understandable, I now had nothing to do for the week. My boss, Mike, was aware of what had happened, and I told him that I had an elk tag to fill, and I was wondering if it was all right for me to go out solo to fill the tag. Mike was agreeable, so I set off on foot from the ranch, my destination being the valley. Our ranch ownership had leases on 2 million private acres of land and 3 million acres of national forest in which we were allowed to hunt. So there was no shortage of places to go. We serviced 18 to 20 hunters a week, each paying upwards of $10,000 to hunt with us. I had guided many well-known people. I'm not going to include the names here, Kev. And a host of others whose names you would readily recognize. We had 10 cabins on the ranch that could house up to 6 people each that we used for students in our guide school. We were servicing there upwards of 20 to 30 students monthly, each paying upwards of $3,000 a month to be there. This was a money-making operation. So I was hiking near Victor and Cripple Creek off Go Camp Road, a place I was familiar with and had had good success in past hunts. It was the same area where we had filled our tags in 5 days during the hunt I previously told you about, which led to the first encounter where the Bigfoot ran through our party on the mountainside. It was an arduous 6-hour hike to get into the valley, where I set up my tent and spent the night resting. This valley had 3 separate beaver ponds, and on its far side there was a mountain with a steep face to it that would be my destination for the early morning. When I arose, there was already elk bugling in different areas of the valley, and I proceeded to hike out and through the valley, passing all 3 of the beaver ponds in the process. When I reached the mountain base, I climbed up to a shelf where I could scope out the valley from a high point and hopefully find the best bull to tag. I sat on this shelf with my 10 by 50 Zeiss binoculars. I could see my camp, the 3 beaver ponds that I had hiked past coming in, as well as a good amount of the valley below me, with bugling occurring from many different areas, including the direction of my camp, which I had left to come to this ledge. My eyes were drawn to what I believed was an elk in one of the beaver ponds, the one closest to my position, about 100 yards from where I sat. I thought I was looking at the animal from the rear, bent over, eating vegetation on the bottom of the pond. Excuse me. So, I put my binoculars on it for a closer look. Now, with 1050 binoculars at only 100 yards, it's the equivalent of me looking at something with my natural eyes at, say, less than 20 feet away. And the animal stood up. It was no elk, as it stood shaking itself off like a wet hound dog and turning immediately to look directly at me. It was a massive Bigfoot. I could see the hairs on its face. That is how close and personal my visage of it was. It knew that I was there on the ledge. Now realizing I had to have walked right by it in the pond, no doubt it having seen me and watched me as I walked up and onto the ledge where I now sat watching. What struck me immediately was how big and strong and muscular this thing was. It may have been the same beast that ran through our caravan beforehand, but I have no way of knowing that. So now I'm sitting on the shelf with nothing but my recurve bow, wishing I had a gun, and realizing that if this thing had decided to come for me, I was a goner for sure. It was also between me, my camp, and the way back out of the valley. There was nowhere else to go. The Bigfoot left the pond and started heading for my tent, now reaching about 300 yards from where it had squatted down, where it then squatted down. I did not know if it was taking a crap or just resting. It simply had just squatted down and was looking directly at my tent. There was a hill not too far from where it was, and my thought then was that if it chose to get up and go over this hill, I would make a break for it, which, as fate would have it, it did. It had taken me 6 hours to hike in here, and it took me 4 to get back out, leaving my tent and supplies behind. That's how fast I was moving, believing it may be following me the entire time. Finally, I reached my truck, and I returned home. When my wife saw me, she asked, "What happened to you?" I did not look myself, and immediately reached out to what we know as the BFRO. Only 2 hours after contacting them, a fellow returned my call, asking me where I was and telling me he was not far away and would like to come ASAP. He asked if he and 2 others could get back in there where I was, and I asked him if he was in good shape. He then said, "Can we get horses?" which I arranged, telling him there would be no pack horses, that they should travel light with, say, just a small pack or something that would be put on their horse. They arrived the following morning. We headed back into the valley with walkie-talkies in hand. I stayed with the tent and directed them where to go and where the sighting of the Bigfoot had occurred. They called me after a while, stating they had found a track and would like me to look at it, which I did. It was a bear track, the hind paw having stepped into the forefoot, making it appear as a big footprint to the untrained eye. Sometime later, over the walkie-talkie again, Matt, I think he's talking about Matt Moneymaker, said they found something else. And this time it was, in fact, the real deal, a perfect track from the creature that we cast in plaster. A track which I have to this day, Bill. As you know, There are additional run-ins with the hairy man that I have had, which we will continue to discuss in future conversations. Now, folks, this fellow who I'm going to call Jeff was a guest on the series Monster Quest. And if you go on YouTube and you can pull it up, the episode of Monster Quest was called the Snow Beast Massacre episode. Snow Beast Massacre. He is the fellow, if you look at this, in the red coat and the cowboy hat. And I wanted to reiterate as well as add some additional information at this point, based on what he had said and done. This beast was a brownish-reddish coloration. The fur was not thick. He said he could see the skin on various body parts. He described it as being 3 versions of himself, wide at the shoulders and wearing a size 50 chest. He estimated at 700 or 800 pounds, which, coming from a horseback rider and a hunter with his skill set, I will take as being spot on. He said it never appeared jittery, ran, or got excited. It knew I was there, as he put it. He also made a statement about finding a Bigfoot body. He said that in 30 years as a guide, he has never seen a bear, wolf, or mountain lion carcass in any state of decay. Now, lastly, he had an associate who could sketch like a police artist, who sat with him and meticulously drew up what he had seen. To me, it looks like a species of gorilla, with no comparison to a human being whatsoever, in my opinion. The eyes, very much so, looked intelligent, based on the sketch drawn from, say, the nipple line up. The creature had an outstanding bony brow above the eyes, and the upper, what I would call trapezius muscles, connecting somewhere of the above the back of the ear. So these muscles in this drawing were actually climbing up from the shoulders, wrapping around close to the crown of the head, if you could picture that. These muscles, to me, were not developed by work, but are inherent and massive in their construction. So there you have it, Kev. 2 hair-raising encounters with the hairy man by a very well-schooled guide and obviously a lifelong professional hunter. Crazy, huh?
Pretty wild stuff, Bill.
Yeah. And we'll get into the others at some point. There's another one he had up near Pike's Peak, solo hunting. And then one he had in, I keep forgetting the name of that place, the lakes down south, the Lost Lakes,
Oh, I know the place you mean, in Missouri.
I just can't think of it. I don't know why I get stumped on that. The land between the lakes.
Land between the lakes.
It.
That's it. The land of the lost.
Man, I'm telling you, man.
Between the lakes.
Have you ever heard anything like that in your life?
You know, that's spectacular. And I know a guy, not real well, but I've worked with a guy that was big into elk hunting in that same part of Colorado.
Okay.
And he was kind of a real man's man hunting. Like, he would go up there on horseback, you know, and be going after bear and elk by himself.
Yeah.
On a horse. And it was like, he'd tell the stories, and I'd be like, holy moly.
Yeah, well,
Can't imagine.
And you think about it, not a compound bow, not a crossbow. He hunts with a traditional recurve bow. And my experience with a recurve bow, if you're any good with it, I could be totally wrong, but to me, the effective range of an arrow would maybe be, 35 yards.
That's what I'm thinking, Bill. I mean, I'm no archery expert nor an archer, but it's like I've shot a recurve bow, at a bale of hay with a target on it, and it doesn't really seem like it's going to stop any large animal.
Yeah, and if you were shooting any distance greater than that, you would literally have to shoot high and be really good at guessing, what
arc it
your
in.
drop is going to be, like the old, Roman fighters and archers and all of that, where you see the arrows go launching out high and they come down,
Yeah, and I think if you didn't hit the critter squarely with the arrow, it's a good chance it would glance off, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And just incredible. So he was 6 animals away from this Grand Slam and didn't think he'd be able to complete it, but he had scored, what did he say, 21 animals with the recurve bow?
Yeah, crazy. But one of them's a polar bear that he had to get. I'm betting on the polar bear.
Yeah. Man, I don't want to get close enough to the polar bear because it's going to come for you, man.
Oh, no doubt about it. It's coming even with your recurve bow.
Yeah. It's coming when it sees you coming.
I like the odds. Come on, bring it on. Let's see what you got, you and your little bow.
Oh my God! It brings to my mind. I saw a video once of some tourists in a bus, like a school bus, up in Alaska somewhere, out for a polar bear watch or whatever, or a seal watch, whatever they were doing. This polar bear stood up and leaned against the side of the bus, and its head looking down, was as high as the height of the school bus. This thing was a monster. I don't know what this thing weighed, 2,500 pounds. It was gigantic. And
Beautiful.
I said to myself, what a stupid thing to do. They got glass windows on the school bus, and this thing could probably lean on the front door of your house and just pop it off the frame. And they're in a bus looking at it. And I'm like, man, you people are out of their minds.
Not too smart.
No.
Not the smart ones, as they say.
So, Kev, what do we have in our Cryptids in the News and Other Oddities segment?
Yeah, so this week, Bill, of course, it'll be in the past when this podcast drops onto people's devices. But this week, there was yet another congressional UAP hearing in Washington, D.C. So that was on September 9th, and it's pretty interesting. These hearings are one of the representatives that leads the hearings is Representative Anna Paulina Luna. And, folks, before you write in and tell me she's crazy or she's against something that you like, I haven't done all the research on her, and I didn't vote for her. She's in Florida. I'm in North Carolina. But she's interesting when she covers these UAP hearings because she's not a lifelong politician. So she kind of just says what she thinks. Right. And I think that's kind of refreshing. Mm-hmm. And in this hearing, Bill, I sent you the one video that surfaced here. They had a few witnesses that came to to testify, including U.S. Air Force veterans Jeffrey Nucatelli, Dylan Borland, U.S. Navy veteran Chief Alexandra Wiggins, and of course UAP journalist George Knapp. And each of them answered questions and detailed their own personal encounters with UAPs and their concerns about government secrecy. So a lot of these hearings, if folks you haven't seen them, are about giving protection to whistleblowers that come forward with information about alleged UAPs.
Yeah, it's ongoing and it's not going away. And
it doesn't seem so.
Alejandro had said, there are basically stashes and files, I forget the wording he used, of these types of videos that haven't leaked out or got to us in a variety of different ways. Who knows if there's hundreds of them, thousands of them. And once in a while, some guy gets the nerve to weasel one out, however that's done. You can believe it or not, but the footage is real,
Well, that's it. And this new footage that just came out, again, not released by the government, but released by a whistleblower, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a video from October 30th, 2024. So about a year ago.
Right.
And they show you this video, and it's like a drone camera locking in on a target. And you see this target. It looks like an orb.
Yeah.
And they call it a glowing orb, but it looks like an orb, not unlike the famous Tic Tac videos from the naval aviators. And while this one drone is tracking the target, apparently there's another military drone flying along near it, and the second drone fires a Hellfire missile at the object. And this all happens off the coast of Yemen, again, about a year ago, or reportedly happens across off the coast of Yemen about a year ago. So what happens, Bill, when this Hellfire missile, very powerful missile, hits this orb?
It seems to, well, first of all, it does not explode.
It doesn't blow up the object.
Right, and it skipped off of it and kept flying.
Exactly.
I mean, and Alejandro made the point that when these Hellfire missiles hit something, it's a contact explosion, and there's very little, if anything, left of what it hits.
Right. I mean, the Hellfire missile is aptly named.
Yeah. Yeah. Like ultimate destruction. It just blows everything to smithereens, as they used to say.
No doubt about it. Yeah. So they show this video footage, and they talk to this video footage. And again, this is a new release of information. And I know, folks, I'm the skeptic, right? That's my role. I'm the scientific guy and generally a skeptic of this footage. And this thing, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't have another explanation for what this is. I mean, of course, the whole thing could be generated, but created, but nobody mentioned that at all.
Right. It sure looked legit to me. And the other thing that was weird, Kev, I had to look at this a few times because I really, it's kind of like black and white, right? There's the water, white caps of the water are moving by. There's a lot of interference with what you're seeing. The gun sight is in the way. Then you see the missile apparently came in from a second Reaper drone.
Yep.
One Reaper had its sights on it, maybe was coordinating for the second Reaper. And you see this Hellfire missile come into the frame. After it hit it, the second time I realized what I was seeing the Hellfire missile just go away intact.
Yes.
And then
But it does hit it. Like, it looks almost like there's like shrapnel or something, but not an explosion.
Yeah, now you think that shrapnel was part of the Hellfire missile, like Finn?
I don't know what it's part of, right? Yeah. But the object kept on going.
Yes, and it also seemed like the shrapnel was staying with the drone, the UAP as it was moving away, like it was.
Yeah.
Like almost like it was in like a force field and contained with it as it was traveling.
Very strange. I agree with you. And you're right about it being a little confusing. Like, I looked at it at first on my phone and I couldn't really tell it. And then I put it on the big screen of the computer and I was like, oh, I see it now. And then after the Hellfire bounces off of it, the one Reaper drone backs off. It zooms back.
Yeah.
So you really see the bigger picture around
yes.
it. And it's super interesting. I mean, I have no explanation for this.
Now, the other thing is, too, whatever, let's call it captured, whatever was able to capture and hold on to the debris from the Hellfire hitting it, what the hell is that all about? It was like some type of magnetic attraction or something was keeping the debris in like a perimeter around this UAP to travel with it away.
Well, and what I was wondering, Bill, so now this is a little crazy, so bear with me, but was that pieces that came off of the orb, but then it was like repairing itself?
Right, and that's another. That's another kettle of fish.
Yeah.
Wondering, what the heck? Because you would think if the Hellfire missile had lost some of its stabilizers, let's call them its fins, wings, whatever appendages hang off the side of the Hellfire to help it guide itself through the air. If it had lost them, it seemed to ricochet off and go in a pretty straight line away from it. So you would think it would have just like curled out or spun out or done something weird, like a plane that lost its wing or something, Yes. But it didn't.
Yes.
It flew straight away. So it begs the thought, what was that debris?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
very.
I don't know, but it was odd. So folks, take a look at this footage. You can Google it from the September 9th, 2025 congressional hearing on UAPs. And check it out and let us know what you think right in. But what I also wanted to talk about, Bill, and we're going to touch on this question and a couple of my thoughts on it, but we're going to talk about it more on additional podcasts because we could spend multiple podcasts on it. But as I was watching this, as I was watching the hearing and then reading the transcripts and stuff like that, I mean, I'm going to ask a question that, may seem like there's an obvious answer, but then I'm going to ask a couple of follow-up questions for you. Okay, so, one is, do you think the government is actually covering up very strong evidence of UFOs? And if it is, what do you think the motivation is?
Well, yeah, I think that's been going on for a long time, going all the way back to Roswell. And I think it's just out of fear. I think that the powers that be think they're better off not telling the public about it. But when they've done surveys, there have been some surveys done, like Alejandro and some other people I believe I've talked about, where the preponderance of people in America have already stated, when asked, that they believe there are UFOs. So I don't know what you're hiding. I mean, I talk to people on a somewhat regular basis about the many UFO sightings I have had. And I know they are real, and I know what I saw. Just like I can identify a red-tailed hawk sitting in a tree,
Right. But I mean, we do have to be clear too. And I'm not saying you're not being clear, but definitely people see unidentified flying objects, and they are truly unidentified flying objects. I don't think anybody disputes that, including the government. But then it's kind of, all right, are they really beings in some kind of spacecraft that can travel through time and wormholes and stuff like that from another place?
Yeah, and
I think that's kind of the question. So I agree, Bill, that, it's fear. And then I started reading about it more, potential motivation if there is a cover up. And then I was like, okay, so what do they think the fear is? And it turns out apparently they've done some logical studies. And Representative Luna talked about this on another podcast that I was listening to, where she said that someone hired folks to do a study to say, would we be better off if we knew of intelligent life from another planet coming to visit us? Would we be better off or worse off if we shared the news with the public? And, this was some logical experts, board of logical experts, think tank, something like that. And they came back apparently, and it was overwhelmingly better off, the state of the nation and humankind would be better off, logically, if that news was not shared with the people. And then I was kind of like, okay, so why is that? And some of the reasons they talked about were, get this, I mean, it's interesting, would the world follow leadership, like government leadership, if they knew there was a much more intelligent and more powerful race of beings out there that could basically wipe us out in an instant? Like, would you have kind of chaos because of the knowledge of these beings? Kind of like a movie.
Yeah,
right?
remember Independence Day?
Exactly.
And that was, to frighten people that the tables could be turned.
Yeah, yeah. And then another thought, again, we won't do it justice today, but I want to plant this seed, is would it challenge people's faith in God? And I didn't really follow this thought because, wouldn't really challenge my faith. Like there could be other beings out there, who knows? Maybe they were all created by God,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But that was one of the points they mentioned. And then finally, and I think this might be most interesting, is that, if the government has possession of some of these crafts, alien crafts, and they have or have tried to reverse engineer these spacecraft, they probably would give that contract to one company, right, to keep it extra secret. And then that company could potentially have a tremendous competitive advantage over any other company in the world. So, maybe they don't release the information because of that, right? Which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
Well, certainly, if any company was selected to be the one, that company would be uber tightly scrutinized from that point forward. You would basically be owned by the powers that be. You're like a slave company. Because once you have that data, that information, and somebody has to have the knowledge of where this stuff came from, knowing the real deal, you would be held to keep everything hush-hush,
Yeah, but you'd also potentially make a tremendous amount of
Oh,
money
of course, but
off of the products.
I don't know anything about these black budgets, but they have apparently they could spend what they want, and like you don't hear people talk about the black budget when they're discussing fiscal propriety. We're talking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one thing, but but that's different. I think. I mean, it could be related, but this is more like, hey, you got this information, and you can create a new craft because we have this new material that we didn't know anything about. Again, all hypothetical.
Right.
And you would have some advantage. You'd be the only one making these potential time traveling crafts or whatever advantage it gave you.
Kev, did you ever read The Day After Roswell by Colonel Corso?
No,
great book. And Colonel Corso said he was privy. It would take too long for me to discuss the whole thing, but he was privy and set in charge of having a variety of things back engineered that he was told came from an alien craft.
Okay.
And they farmed it out, according to him, to existing contractors pretty much that they were using on other projects, and basically just would give them a piece of something. Not even telling them what they thought it was or anything. They'd just give you like a wire and say, see what you can do with this.
Yeah, what material is this?
And they did this with like a number of people. So nobody knew there was any connection between any of the things they were given. And that's how, and he claimed that fiber optics, the transistor, which led up to computer chips, and all of this stuff came originally from back engineered alien craft.
Okay.
That was Colonel Philip Corso.
I got to look that up.
The Day After Roswell. It's an excellent read, paperback. You can probably pick up a used copy on eBay from thrift books for a couple of dollars. And really, if you've never read it, give it a read. If you have any interest in the UFO phenomena, it's worth your time.
Cool. All right, Bill. So I touched on it again, folks. Check out that footage from the September 9th, 2025 hearing and watch this Hellfire missile bounce off of this orb and tell us what you think. Write in on Contact Us, BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com. We want to know. And Bill, speaking of writing in, we got a great mail I'm going to read this week from Evan.
Okay.
And he says, "Hey, Sheehan brothers, I've been enjoying your podcast and books for a few years now, so thank you, Evan." He says, "It's been great to see the addition of merchandise as well. All great looking stuff. I wanted to run an idea by you regarding your shop. My brother and I own and operate a professional grade wood baseball bat company called American Batsmith. Along with bats, we can make pretty much anything that is long and round and made out of wood. We thought a custom designed nightstick / baton might be a fun addition to your shop. You could call it a black-eyed children beater or maybe a tree knocker." He's like, "Okay, that first one may get you in trouble. It would be for tree knocking or self-defense. We can make them any color you want with your logo and or catchphrase engraved. There are a ton of options. If that's something you're interested in, shoot me an email. If not, that's all right too. Take care, Evan." Evan, that sounds super cool.
Yeah, and Evan, although I appreciate the thought behind all of this, I have aligned myself with a company, chosen products, created designs, price points, tried to get all of the best stuff that I could, and created what you can go purchase now through our shop link on the website. So I don't inventory anything.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Bill, we're trying this out, and we'll see where it goes. And, if it's super successful, maybe look at something like Evan has. But right now, we're just trying to get the basics flowing.
Yeah, exactly. So in other words, Evan, I'm not in a position to have some of your crafty work, on site here and get orders for that separate from the other stuff and ship it out. I mean, I'm a busy guy. Kevin's a busy guy. And, frankly, there's not enough hours in the day to get everything done. Heck, Kev, I'm trying to stay with my guitar practicing.
But it's super cool.
Very cool.
So I love the idea, Evan, and I love the fact that you reached out to us.
And I also like the idea of the black-eyed children beater.
Yeehaw.
So, Kev, is that it?
That's it, Bill. Good podcast.
And Kev, how can the people get in touch with us?
Contact us, tab at BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com.
That's it. And if you've seen something, say something. I want to hear from you. Also, get out there, buy some of the merchandise, whatever you can. It's cool stuff. And remember, if you should find yourself hiking around Pike's Peak, shall we say, or anywhere else for that matter, you best remember one thing, my friends. Always carry more gun than you think you're going to need. Sleep tight.